What's up guys, it's Ben in Parts here. Welcome back to yet another episode of this CryptidCast podcast, where we break down cryptids, their sightings, their possibilities, what they could or couldn't be, and if they could be real or not. And today we have the Hugag, one of those incredible cryptids that combines the world of real tangible creatures, so it's not a djinn, nature spirit, demon, interdimensional creature, it's a real physical entity. But at the same time, it's a lumberjack cryptid, so it's going to be outrageous and ridiculous in some way. And boy, is the Hugag ridiculous. It's one of my favourite creatures because it's not really dangerous, but on the other hand, its lifestyle and the way it lumbers around and the way it dawdles around doing its thing could make it dangerous in some instances, but mostly it's just this miraculous, fascinating, harmless creature that could be an inconvenience sometimes, but that generally I would be charmed to have around. As usual, if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, share the podcast playlist around, and follow my Instagram, and without further ado, let's get into it. The Hugag is said to be the biggest animal in the northern forests of America, or at least it was reported to be during the Lumberjack era. When it's fully grown, the Hugag stands about 13 feet high and weighs about 600 pounds. This is according to Henry H. Trion's book, Fearsome Critters, which I cannot recommend enough, and I recommend everyone reads to get a deep understanding of these topics. It's said to have a warty snout, a bit like a hog, and ears that coarse and flop, a bit like goodie sacks. The head is bald and also has lumps and bumps. However, the best barber in the world would have trouble dealing with the Hugag because its head has pine needles growing out of it. Yep, sharp pine needles growing out everywhere, which are always causing it to ooze with pitch. And God, that must be awful. I mean, if I was a human, I would think that was awful. The Hugag's probably used to it, but can you imagine if you had an oozy pine needle head? Women already don't tend to go for bald dudes, so can you imagine if I took my cap off and I was like, pleased to meet you, ma'am, and I've got pine needles coming out of it and oozy bits everywhere? She'd be like, oh, God. I don't think I'd ever be married. Well, probably never will be married. Moving on. And to make this worse, the Hugag has a steady diet of pine knots, which contributes toward this pitch oozing. The legs lack any knee or fetlock or hock joints, so the Hugag not only has pine needles growing out of its head, but it can't actually lie down. Nope, the Hugag cannot lie down, it has to stand up at all times. It has to sleep standing, and it usually sleeps bracing its splayed feet and just leans against a tree to take its sleep. And these so-called sleep trees are often badly bent and usually stay so because they're leaned against by repeated Hugags with predictable results. The Hugag is not described as dangerous because when it's aroused or scared, it just bristles up and looks like a heap of pine slash. In other words, it kind of camouflages itself, it doesn't really want to be bothered and it won't bother you. To catch one, what you're meant to do is just saw a few of its favourite sleep trees, because when the Hugag comes to lean against one of these trees, can't get up again, you capture it and you have it for yourself. I mean, I wouldn't, seriously, unironically, I would not recommend doing this because if they do exist, they must be a rare species, so you shouldn't just go around catching them. But if you needed to catch one for some reason, it's not exactly a hard task to do, because if it falls down, it can't get up any quicker than, quote, a greenhorn on skis, meaning a person who is skiing for the first time is more nimble and quick than this Hugag. It does very little harm to people, save for when it leans against buildings. And can you imagine if you've, so to speak, built your house on the sand? If your house has poor foundations or you've got a shoddy house and this Hugag just walks up and suddenly you're waking up asleep in a mess of bricks like, what's just happened? No, I wouldn't recommend letting a Hugag sleep against your house. If it falls down, it will not do harm apart from when buildings are in the way, so generally it's harmless, but that is just a thing to consider. And it was originally found from around the Great Lakes in western Wisconsin and northern Minnesota, and as far north as James Bay. And the last one reported killed, it's not known when it was killed, was reported killed on Turtle River, and it was a young one, quote, weighing barely 1,800 pounds. So I don't think it's something that Arnold Schwarzenegger could just casually pick up. Which brings me to the concluding topic. What is this Hugag? Well, stranger things have happened in nature, much stranger things have happened. Animals that have been thought to have been extinct have been found extant. Creatures that we couldn't even imagine to have existed have been proven to exist, but I think it's almost certainly a tall tale. Otherwise, we'd have one in captivity by now, probably. We'd at least have some photographs, a specimen on display. It's probably lumberjacks getting around the campfire and passing around a tall tale. One elaborates on it, then another, then another. To me, this is almost certainly what's happened. But what do you guys think? Do any of you have any stories throughout history told by your family of people who've seen them? Have you seen any of them? Do you have any evidence or photographs or anything? Please post those in the photos and comment section below. That would be incredible to read and incredible to look at. And once again, please subscribe to my channel and share it around. Please share my podcast around. I've got more videos on mysteries and legends coming soon, including a personal demon encounter, which was terrifying. And without further ado, stay tuned for the next episode, and I look forward to seeing you there.